Hello, everyone, and welcome to InsPOWration, a TV show that focuses on inspiring people and their inspiring stories. Thank you for joining us. We'd like to thank Channel 55, Olelo, and of course, Prayers on Wings, our 501c nonprofit. My name is Devin Nakasone. I'll be your host for pretty much every show. If you're just joining us, we've been here for a little bit, and we're going for this series, and I am very excited today to have our guests. So excited that we actually had to we're going to do two shows of this gentleman that I'm going to introduce very soon. And his story, his mission, his past, his future, his present is nothing short of amazing. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jeff Nash.
How's it
How
going?
you doing, man? Thanks
Pretty
for joining
good.
us.
Thanks for having me.
So Jeff Nash is the clinical director of Habilitat for how many years now?
Oh, since 2001, I think.
2001. It's a long time. There's probably a lot of stories, a lot of a lot of things that you can share, which is why we're gonna do two shows. So make sure you do check out next month. And if you check out next month before checking out this month, you're not gonna know what's going on. So we're on demand. Check that out. And without any more delay, I wanna address Habilitat. Habilitat has been around since how long?
We were founded in 1971 by Vinnie Marino.
1971. Okay.
And been in Hawaii since our founding.
Okay. So I need to ask you. The mission statement behind Habilitat is.
Well, it's a little complicated than just a statement, but our mission basically is to serve the population of Hawaii, to help people overcome addictions, substance abuse issues, and get people out of prison and back into the workforce. And that's kind of been our mission for a number of years, been like 43 years or something now. And we're really good at what we do. And the program's been around for a long time. A lot of people have heard of it. A lot of misconceptions about Habilitat, but we're still doing the very same work that we've been doing since it was founded in 71.
Very cool. So speaking of those misconceptions, we're not going to really name we're not going to detail the misconceptions, but what we're going to do today for all of our viewers is we're going to bring awareness to what the program does for the community. And then everyone has a choice to make up their own minds, because I've heard the misconceptions and the misunderstandings.
Who hasn't, right?
Right. And on a personal level, the ones that know me know that know my past, know my mission today, and it's a constant battle for what I've been through, and even with Mr. Nash over here, I'm gonna get into all of that. Wow, so much to talk about. To keep this organized makes it really hard. So we want to bring awareness again to the community of what Habilitat is all about. And I guess what I would say is, so being that you work with your residents for 13 years, I guess what is the percentage of success?
Well, Habilitat has actually one of the highest success rates in the country. And there have been studies done by the National Institute of Drug Abuse. The last study that we did, we came in at about 54, somewhere between 54 and 60%, give or take, any given year, which is about 3 times higher than the national average is between 16 and 17% each year. So we're about 3 times as successful, and part of that has to do with we approach the whole problem a little bit differently than most places. Okay. Our program is long. Our program is hard. There's no secret about that. But it works, and that's really what matters.
How long is a program for each?
Typically, the program is about a 30-month live-in experience. And so what we do is we take a person either off the street or out of jail, and we put them through a very rigorous treatment program that lasts anywhere from 6 to 9 months, and then they go into our reentry part of the program where they actually learn a trade. And we have 13 or 14 different vocational training programs that really second to none in this industry anyway, in America. And we've long understood it's not enough to just get somebody off the drugs. You got to provide them with a purpose. You got to help them find a way to make a living, and you've got to make them feel like they're a part of the larger community. if you want them to stay clean and continue to contribute. So we work really hard at doing that, and the reality is you can't achieve that in just a couple of months. We're basically doing a complete overhaul of the human being, and we do it all without the use of any kind of psychotropic drugs. We do it without any kind of government contracts. Habilitat is fully self-reliant as an organization. Our policy is kind of, you know, if you're going to teach other people to be self-reliant and independent, then you need to practice it as an organization as well. So there's a lot of organizations that are trying to do good, you know, they're trying to help people, but for whatever reason are kind of dependent on government funding, and you know, government funding comes and goes.
Yes.
So we're not dependent on any kind of government funding. We actually have no contracts with any government agencies. We do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah,
we work for it.
That is amazing. As a founder of a nonprofit, Prayers and Wings, we are a 501c3, and we just made our 3-year milestone. And they said,
congratulations.
yeah, you know, congratulations, you know, but it's been really difficult. And they say for a nonprofit, 3 years is the first mark, and then 5 years is another mark. And 3 years has been tough, especially in Hawaii, for the getting the dollar. A dollar is not worth a dollar in Hawaii, right? We know that.
Yeah.
And for you guys, when you say you're self-reliant, a lot of people don't know, maybe understand the concept of self-reliant. So speaking on self-reliant, what programs do you do throughout the year that make you guys so successful in the term self-reliant?
Okay, well, there's a lot of things. So it's kind of a loaded question. There's a lot of things that we do. We do 2 major fundraising events each year. We put on a luau auction and benefit concert, which you've been the MC.
Yeah, that's a great time.
Yeah.
That's a great time.
And you know, we have lots of auction items that we get donated from various companies around the country. Those go, and it's a silent and live auction.
Right.
And I think the last time there was like 600 different items that get auctioned off. And then of course, local artists, big name local artists,
Yes.
come and give their time to play music. And then of course, the folks at Habilitat Catering create all the food. And it's all cooked the old Hawaiian way in a big pit in the ground, and everybody works really hard to do that. So that's one of our big projects. Also, we are one of the largest supplier of Christmas trees on the island of Oahu. We've been doing that for 30 some odd years. So those are 2 things, and we have a vocational training program that does pretty much every aspect of construction. So the guys are being trained, it's like on-the-job training. Now they don't work for Habilitat, they're not employees, they are being trained, but they're being trained to a very high level so that when they can walk out of the program after they graduate, they can get a job. So those vocational programs generate revenue to fund scholarships for the person to go through the program. So basically they earn their way through. Another thing that we've done in the last few years is we started a catering company, which is getting rave reviews. And then an offshoot of that, we decided to open a food truck, because that's been all the rave, the food trucks. And the food truck is phenomenal. We got people that stand there. We go to all the Eat the Streets. It gets catered for all kinds. We're doing catering events almost every day of the week now. So all these different things, they generate revenue. And all the revenue, there's no middleman, there's no other agency that's taking a cut. 100% of those proceeds go directly back into the organization. Because Habilitat is a private 501c3, we don't have any stockholders, you know, it's basically all the money goes right back into the organization. And our founder was, in my opinion, he's one of the people that really inspired me. I'm kind of lucky. I came along after this whole thing was set up already. Vinnie Marino was actually the genius behind the whole thing. He had this vision. He was a hardcore drug addict from the East Coast, and he came out here and he decided, you know, we got to do something. And he fought tooth and nail. He created the place. You know, there's a lot of controversy behind him through the years. Unfortunately, he's gone now. But he did leave his legacy. He trained a bunch of us to continue his work. We're not quite as vocal and as boisterous as he was, because he was kind of a public figure. But we're still doing exactly the same thing that he was doing years ago. So, you know, we do a whole lot of different things. Basically, our attitude is you do whatever you need to do to make it happen. And that's what we teach people, and that's what we practice as an organization.
You know, speaking of that, it's interesting how you said what tools that you give each resident before they go out in the world, and actually as a resident, you give them that and let them explore a little bit more as they deserve the choice to do it. And I guess that boils down to giving each individual their why. You know, there's a who, what, where, when, how. And to me, out of all of these questions, the word why is the most important, because why it's internal. If you have your why down, you don't care how you do it, you don't care when you got to do it, you don't care where you do, you just do it, because it's pretty much a spiritual thing. It's what keeps us going to the next day. And you know, myself as an addict, I started in '89. I would say for 6 months, my addiction was meth. For 6 months, I loved it. It took me 9.5 years to quit. You know, 9.5 years, I hated it.
So you liked it for 6 months, and it took you 9.5 years to kick that.
Right, right, and it was going back and forth, on and off, and it wasn't a complete line, straight line of just being a drug addict. There was a time period that I did stop, but my mind was always was always an addict, and it was just so I could come back home, you know, take a shower. I got to be clean, go find a job, because I don't want to end up in jail. So I was just finding things to keep myself lukewarm, to where I wouldn't go to jail, to where I wouldn't get killed, and I could still get high, you know. But the reason why I kept going back and forth was because I never knew my why, you know. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm already I've said it before, I'm an 11-year-old leukemia survivor. Everyone wonders how the heck did this guy go through 4.5 years of chemo, survive 98% leukemia, and still go to drugs. And it's because I never knew my why. What was my purpose? I always asked, why me? I needed to take out the me and just keep focused on the why. And really that why is to love the next person enough, or whether it be a stranger or somebody I know, love that person enough to inspire them to do better. And that's what we're all there for, you know. If not, you're left alone, you know, which a lot of the unsuccessful stories of Habilitat, the other bad statistics, because they never got to that why.
Right.
And I've seen you break them down in Habilitat. I've had the pleasure of entertaining at on the Habilitat grounds, on their outside stage. It's amazing, and you have some big names there too before.
We have.
Yep.
Most of the big names in Hawaiian music have played there. Private concerts.
And most of them say that's the best
audience
the best
they've ever.
audience ever. And that was actually my best audience ever. They just got up and they just, for one, they just loved the fact that we took the time out.
Yeah, they appreciate.
Yes, you know, and that is, you got to understand now, these residents have an addiction. They're the ones that are the tormentors to society.
Yeah.
And when I went in there for the first time, I didn't know what to expect. I was actually scared, to be honest with you, like anybody else, right? So, but I went in there, and the aloha that
it's strong.
It's very strong. It's very strong, and it's very strict. It's amazing how Habilitat can exercise all these
boundaries.
Yeah, but not cross the line to where you guys will nail it if someone does cross the line.
Well, you know, the reality is a lot of people come to us and they've never had clear boundaries in their life. You know, their families tried, but the reality is your parents can only teach you what they know. And when it comes to addiction, a lot of times parents don't know what to do. And what they do is they try to love the individual into getting better, and you know, it just doesn't always work that way. So we provide some very clear boundaries. We back them up with consequences. Our philosophy is that you know a lot of people are like, oh, those criminals, those drug addicts. Well, the reality is America is incarcerating drug addicts at a rate that's not even sustainable. And a lot of people may not know this, but every time they arrest a guy for drugs and they put him in jail, it costs the state of Hawaii's taxpayers about $96 a day to keep him incarcerated. Wouldn't it make more sense to send them somewhere where they can get help, where they can start contributing to that tax base rather than taking from that tax base? Because it's a proven fact. Incarceration alone does not change people's behavior. It's punitive, it's not restorative. You send people to prison, you punish them for it, they come out, they do the same thing again. So what we've tried to do is offer an alternative to incarceration. And the funny thing is, we have people that come to Abilitat from jail. Maybe they're facing 20, actually it's not funny, but maybe they're facing 20 years in prison. They come to Abilitat, and when they realize they can't get away with their crap, they're gonna have to do what they're told, they would rather go back to prison. Now this doesn't happen often, but I've seen it happen before. So we've worked with the judiciary for many years, and a lot of these people, if they're drug offenders or related issues, they'll let them come to Abilitat as a last-ditch effort because they know it's tough, and they know that we're gonna push them to change. So it's really, I don't know. I think it's important that we start to rethink our whole process of what we do and how we treat addiction. We can keep criminalizing it, but the bottom line is it's not sustainable. The taxpayers can't pay for it. And, you know, everybody's like, well, we want to help them, but not in our neighborhood. We kind of, Habilitat, it's interesting, Habilitat was kind of created by necessity. They just moved into this property in the middle of the night when nobody was looking, and then the next morning, well, there it was, and we've been there ever since. So, you know, our neighbors are used to it, and we look out for our neighbors, we take care of our neighbors, we try real hard not to be a menace to our neighborhood, because our facility's right smack in the middle of a residential neighborhood.
Right.
The reality is, if you tried to open such a place in this day and age, they wouldn't have it. You know, there'd be zoning issues, there'd be neighborhood board issues. So, yeah.
So, you know, it's funny how you're here for this show, because I've had actually some revelations in the past couple of weeks or so. And I like how you just explained all of that, which actually really backs up my theory, which is options. What you explained to me that I just heard now is, I've heard that your residence, your program offers options.
Exactly.
And you cannot get better if you don't understand, if you don't have options to begin with. And then you don't understand the reward and consequences of each road or each option that you may travel. And you folks do that.
We do.
I'm not going to name anyone, but I know for a fact that there are other programs out there that do not give these options.
Well, in a lot of cases they can't, because their funding sources won't allow them to. And I know most of the other program directors and other programs in this state, and a lot of times they're frustrated because they're restricted on what they can and cannot do because of the funding sources. We're not.
Okay, you know, and that's really my father. My father was an addict. He was addicted to everything.
Anything.
Not just substances, but a way of life. He was a street fighter. He was just a punk. You know, he was always arrested and typical samurai. And his name still lives on today, not in a good way. And he lived in the streets back when he was a teenager, and he pretty much ruled the island to some degree. Short man, shorter than me. You know, for those of you that never see me in person, I'm 6 feet. So, okay, well, he just made me lie. Couldn't pretend it, you know. but my dad was about 5'1", 5'2". He's shorter than me, and he had a rep for fighting. And my father, being that he was an addict, he would give me these options. My dad was my rehabilitation. But because I was his son, that love got in the way, where it confused the respect, because you expect things from your father,
Right.
and then you expect things from your son, and then the disappointment comes in. But a program such as Habilitat, where everyone's a stranger and becomes a family, and you guys are a family. I've seen you guys break bread together. I've seen you guys make the food together. I've seen you guys share your stories of what what made you feel good today, what made you feel bad today. You guys do it as a group, as a support group, and it's not about just facing their addiction and their problems and the time bombs going off in their head, but of what is happening today as they're growing.
How to deal with the problems that each day brings.
Right.
Yeah, and that's really what it's about. Because addiction, from our perspective, the actual addiction and use of the drugs is really just a symptom. It's not the problem. And that's why you can take somebody and lock them up in an institution somewhere and give them no access to drugs, and you let them back out and they go back to using the drugs. It's not the drug. It's not the using of the drug that's the problem. They use the drugs because that's the symptom of all the problems, and usually it's a whole lot of problems. So we start to address all the problems of the whole individual. As you mentioned, maybe having not so good role models in their life. Their father was this or that, their mother was this or that. A lot of people are abused or neglected, or there's, you name it. It runs the gamut of things that could be the issue. But you take the person, you get them off the drugs, and you have an individual that's, in my opinion, not broken, because I don't believe there are broken people. I believe there are people that are doing the best that they know how to do with what they've been taught. So if you teach them something better, then they start to get better results. So we address the individual on the level that they're at, and it's really got nothing to do with their drugs. As you saw, we never even talk about drugs, really. Everybody at Habilitat already knows what drugs do. They can tell you probably more about it than the doctors can. So we start to address the issues, their inability to cope. We start to teach them, skills, interpersonal skills, how to deal with conflict, how to self-motivate yourself. The list goes on. I could talk for a whole hour about all the things that get addressed, but it's really about addressing the individual and where they are and helping them, step up. Shake it off, take a step up.
I just posted it on Facebook the other week, and I talked about addiction, and I've mentioned that I have an addictive personality, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, what I'm impressed with Habilitat is, and it goes with my post, is personally, I'm trying to become an addict of finding balance. And that is what Habilitat offers your residents, is finding that balance. Because, having an addictive personality is a great thing, because these are the guys that are motivated. These are the guys that's determined. These are the guys that get things done.
They don't quit?
Yeah, they don't quit. But
they
just went the wrong way.
It's
right?
inherent in an addict that you must be tenacious, you don't give up. You have to get your drugs every day. So if you can refocus that energy, that attitude, that mentality, and become an addict of helping save the world, helping other people, helping whatever, then you become a real force to be reckoned with.
And I guess the best way to say it is, you can have the best, how would I say this in a scenario? Balance is so easy to lose focus on. You can have the best Circus of Soleil guy balancing on a I don't know, maybe a 12-foot curb, a 12-inch curb. But over time, that person will fall off.
Eventually.
Right? Eventually. So they may stay there for whatever, but if they have to live there and stay there, eat there, and whatever, they go to sleep, whatever, yeah, they'll eventually fall off. There is no way that that person can stay balanced all the time. The trick is to know that you have the options, so that you don't keep going that way or keep hitting that same wall. That it's okay to turn around, because you know that road will lead you somewhere that you don't want to go. And with your residents, being that where they're coming from is pretty much the same thing, same scenario, same life. I think personally, the world doesn't change. Situations, there's always the same answer. Life has been going on around in the same circle. Whatever problems I face, someone had it before. And that's why inspiring others through crisis.
Nothing new under the universe, kind of.
Maybe certain things might be a little bit tweaked and whatnot, but there's always someone that has gone through it. And that's why it's important to do things like this show, Inspiring Others to Crisis. Someone needs to hear it, you know? And you never know. You never know where inspiration can be right around the corner. And I know you know that just when you think no one cares, no one's listening, but it's like right there. But you're just cluttered with all of this hoo-hoo, right, and stuff. And that's why I love Habilitat, is because of that. And this is what this show is about. We're almost out of time. For our viewers, I just want to let you know we're going to be in the same clothes. Doesn't mean that we didn't take a bath for a month.
I have a lot of these shirts, actually. So.
Well, I only have one of these. But we're almost out of time. So we're going to just slowly wrap this up. But I need you guys to come back on for next month, because next month we're gonna get into Jeff Nash, and speaking as a former addict, and maybe even his personal life. You never know. You got to tune in. And I will go into what keeps him going, what inspires him, and maybe me too. Don't know. We'll see. But we're almost out of time. I want to thank Jeff Nash again, and of course he will be back on InsPOWration, and we are on demand. You can look us up. And make sure you tune into Channel 55 throughout the week. They got other inspirational programs. I want to thank Olelo personally, and of course our hardworking staff at Prayers on Wings for our show InsPOWration, which will pretty close. We're that close to being a series where we have an actual time slot, and so stay tuned for that. Thank you again. My name is Devin Nakasone with Jeff Nash of Habilitat, Clinical Director. Aloha, folks. Cool. All right.
Good job.
Good job.